Hey everyone, we are live. We're going to wait a few minutes to get some more people to sign in. If you'll just put in the comments where you're from, that'd be great. Hey, as we're waiting right now, go to every Facebook group you're a member of and copy this URL in so they can watch us live as well. Don't hold this information back. Share it and get it out right now. I'll give you 1 minute. And make sure you stick around. You're going to see something you've never seen in your lifetime. I promise that. Never been seen. Never. Not even me. Well, no, I have. But yeah, you wait. It's remarkable. Okay, I'm going to get started in 1 minute, guys. Make sure you share this. Call your family and friends. Make sure you call all Democrats. If you like the music, let me know in the side there. That thing is rocking. The music, what are you talking about? Okay, we're going to get started, guys. Hey, welcome. This is our fourth night. We are live. I got some special guests that are coming on. We'll get to them in just a second. But if you're not familiar with Preparedness, I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown. Preparedness is an organization of like-minded individuals like you. That's why you're here. And we believe in personal responsibilities, individual freedoms, and preparing for disasters of all origins, including a pandemic, including space aliens, I guess. We're not conspiracy kind of people, though. This group is aimed at individuals that are interested in gaining knowledge, acquiring new skills, and networking with like-minded individuals that are like preppers and survivalists. So the biggest thing that Preparedness does, and our goal is to actually connect people nationwide, locally. That way you can form communities, survival groups. That's what we're all about. We actually have around 65 cities in the United States that has a local meetup with a leader that there'll be training, there'll be gatherings, there'll be hikes, there'll be all kinds of things. You go, if there's not one in your area, you contact me, we'll start one. but we have 65 meetups. I just got an unbelievable, I think it's our Phoenix, Arizona, had a huge day. The guy summed up the whole thing that they did, a hike, they did fire, they did all these things, amazing things they were doing. I guess that I think they had 25, 30. I don't remember the number. But Preppernet, you can go to meetup.com and search for Preppernet, and you'll see, and make sure you list all. You'll see them all down through there. Or you can go to preppernet.com, and we'll have a list. We want you to sign in with your email and your zip code. We want your email because in case preppers ever get kicked off of social media or Meetup, we don't know, we can still contact you. I don't spam at all. Really, I probably send less emails out than your doctor. So anyway, well, except the last week. Anyway, hey, I do want to tell you that I am the CEO of a company called Sun Oven International. And if you don't have one of these ovens, you're going to die. Okay, maybe you're not going to die, but you need one of these things. This oven saves lives around the world. A third of the earth still cooks with wood. So imagine a mother cooking in her hut with a baby strapped to her, and she's building a fire in her hut. One of the leading causes of death in the continent of Africa is smoke inhalation, respiratory infection for children under the age of 7. This item saves lives. I have a special coupon for you. If you can't remember, just call the office and tell them, and they will give you a deal. But if you don't have this, you're going to die. That's what I'm not saying that. I heard people say that, not me as the CEO. I could never say that. But anyway, check us out. It's a 30-year-old company, so you need one of them. Hey, I also do this thing called Prepping Academy. I'm telling you, if you're laid back, bored one day, this would be a good show for you. On the scale of not good to incredible, like Prepping 2.0 is like right here, and not good is here. Man, Prepping Academy is right there in the middle. It's the mediocre podcast. It's me and Kyle. I killed Kyle. Apparently, everyone thinks I did like 2 years ago, and then God brought him back to life, and he's back on the show. And so he wasn't buried, he wasn't dead. And then Tenderfoot, my other co-host, will come on every now and then. Check us out. Again, I do a podcast like I would like to hear a podcast. So if you don't like it, Glenn and Shelby's. Theirs is great. I've been on that, by the way. So anyway, so here's the schedule. We've already done the Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy and Charlie Hogwood. We've already done Jonathan Harleman. He is my brother from a different mother. We've done Lisa, Survival Mom. We've done Sam Kopler, JJS from Amron. That was last night. Tonight we have Glenn Tate and Shelby Gallagher. Monday we have Dennis and Jeff, both are like writers, prepper geniuses. And then Tuesday night, my very special guest and friend, Scott Hunt, Engineer 775 on YouTube. And we're going to kind of seal it up, this entire series, with that. Then maybe do an encore where I bring a lot of these people back and we do question and answering. A lot of people, you guys are like, you don't take any questions. Well, we got so much information to get out. So we're going to do a show just of questions and answers. And then we may go like live every single week and have several different people on different topics. And we may continue this. It's been amazing so far, the response that I've been getting from you guys. And so, I give, never take. That's just the PrepperNet way. I'm totally kidding. My wife kind of enjoys it when it gets late and I leave, so that way she can fall asleep on the couch too. So it's easy. With that said, is this not the funniest thing? So I had church again. So y'all know next week I had like 13 people come up to me and go, "Hey, Forrest, tell me about what is my family? What do we need to do?" And I'm like, literally one family today, their kids weren't there, but I said, you know what? Your family's going to really you're going to die. And they looked at me like, what? I'm like, okay, I'm just kidding. You're not going to die. Don't worry about it. But I can see Forrest Gump. If you can imagine my name, I get a lot of, you understand. I hope you do. If you don't, if you have a weird name, I will make fun of it because I feel like I have the right to. Just like that, everyone stopped making fun of preppers. Isn't that the truth? Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, I'm a genius. Well, not really, but they go, you're ahead of the curve is what they'll say. That's funny. I love it. I share it every night. So I do want to say this. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but the power of love and of sound mind. We're not preaching fear. Knowledge and sound mind can conquer fear and preparedness. That's what we're going to be preaching and talking about tonight. We want you to be prepared. We want you to tell others how to be prepared. We want you to help others. We don't want you to be in fear and just absolutely just be afraid. That is not from God at all. The Bible says it's right there, but it's sound mind and knowledge. And that's what we are going to try to deliver tonight. So I do want to mention this. You know, Glenn has like 10 books and they're like this thick and, you know, they're unbelievable. One of the first series I've ever read. You know, Shelby, she's writing The Great State. I think she's done 1 and 2. I don't know what to ask her. I'm not sure if 3's out. I haven't read 3. But I write little teeny books. This is a little teeny book. Let me. I'm going to do this right here. See that? That's a little teeny book right there. My little photo right there. But it's called The Case for Christian Preparedness. It's a book that goes through about, there's more than trusting God. You got to obey God. And sometimes God tells us things to do. And it goes through the Bible with some of the stories about that. It is free this weekend. Absolutely free. You go to Kindle or you go to Amazon, you download the electronic version, and I'm giving it to you for free. This has never been about making money. Well, authors really don't make a lot of money doing this, but maybe Glenn Tate and Shelby because everybody buys their books. But my family, well, actually not even all my family bought one because I gave it to them. But anyway, it's a good book. It's also, so download it and read it. If you like it, buy one because I think it's a good book to give to other people in your church or your pastor, because the person that edited this thing, he just passed away about 6-7 months ago. His name's, well, I guess I can mention his name. He didn't want to forward it because he's kind of he's in a different league than I am, but his name is Norman Geisler. He's kind of been a friend and a mentor for years, but I wanted to make sure that it was biblically accurate, and him and his partner in crime or his author, a good friend of mine, they went through it and made sure it was accurate. It's free this weekend. Go and download it. After this weekend, it's not going to be free. It's like $5 or something. I forgot what the price is on it. So when you go download that, I make no money whatsoever on that when you download it. But you might decide to share it. There are many churches that have purchased like 20, 30 copies, and I've actually given them discounts. So anyway, thought I would mention that. It's free. I'm just giving. Okay. Next, I want to introduce our guest. Her name is Shelby Gallagher. She is the Queen's Bee, I guess, of Glenn Tate. It's kind of like you can see sparkles in his eyes. Tonight, they're going to be sitting across the table, kind of looking at each other. And I told them they can't just stare at each other and just kind of get lost in the moment because they are newly married. But she writes The Great State. She does the incredible podcast with Glenn Tate, and it's called Prepping 2.0. She's going to be live in the house. And another thing, guys, you're going to see something that very few people have ever seen. This is being revealed for the first time, and I could not believe it. I mean, I'm stunned. So as I am here, and they're in the back room. I can see them there. And I'm like, okay, because if you notice, they always cover their face. Always. They got there are a lot of photos like this and things like this. They got a bandana. Shelby she's kind of hard. She's still not coming out of the closet yet. But but Glenn, oh my gosh, I guarantee you this is the first time that more than 30 people have ever seen Glenn in his face. We're going to see his. I'm not kidding. I am not. I was shocked. I'm like, well, Glenn, do you want to get something on your face? You want to put your mask on, or actually, I thought he had a mask on. That's anyway. But Glenn is in the house, and let me tell you about Glenn. Glenn is the author of 299 Days, an incredible series, and it's kind of it's his friends that they're in the book. It's 10 books, and they are all on audio. I listened to every single one of them. Amazing. That kind of got me. That was one of the first series, which is not very smart for me to start my first series with 10 books, because I'm thinking, gosh, but anyway, it was amazing. He also does Prepping 2.0. They do radio shows. They do live on like real radio stations. Yeah, I'm a wannabe there, and they do good material. And so I'm going to bring them on. I think that's all I have. And I'm going to bring them on, and you're going to see Glenn. I'm going to save him for last. I'm going to bring in Shelby in here. There I am. Hello. I'm going to bring in Shelby here. There's Shelby. Hello, Shelby.
Hello, Forrest. How are you?
Good. And I need a drum roll, please. Glenn Tate is in the house. Check this out. Boom. I am not kidding. Where's your mask? Oh, you got your mask on. Oh, that's what you see all the time.
For you, Forrest, I show the face.
That is amazing. Amazing. I mean, gosh, you're way uglier than I. No,
yeah, I get that a lot.
I am so kidding. And Shelby has her N95 mask on. So
this is, yes, I'm prepared for coronavirus.
No.
This is nylon.
Goodness. So I did a little background of each of you. Shelby, if you'll go first and maybe tell a lot more and about your book as well. Your book is, if I remember right, is written in the first person of a lady.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And not many books in the prepping series are done that way. And so go ahead.
Yeah. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I wrote it, is because this genre tends to be very male dominated, tends to be kind of tactical, tends to be just, just too military, I guess. And I was really struck by the fact, especially watching the Venezuelan collapse, what happens to women and their children. They tend to get trafficked. They tend to have to sell their bodies for food. And we know that not only from the Venezuelan collapse, the Bosnian collapse, all of those. And so I know that. And then on the flip side of that, I watch this here in the United States as women and children are marketed to, are drawn into, are coerced, may be a little strong, but just wooed into being dependent upon government, especially single moms. So WIC, that's Women, Infants, and Children Food Programs, food stamps, government assistance. And when that all goes away, it just scares me to think about. It just struck me, what would that be like? And what is it like to prep as a single mom? It's hard. It's hard work, but you as a single woman, and this was what inspired me to write, you as a single woman would be way more prepared and not have to make difficult decisions like child trafficking and things like that. So that's what got me started. And if you've read my first book and you've read the 4, you know that Glenn was a big part of that. Just to give you an update, yes, my third book has come out. It's been out, since last summer-ish. But it's out.
Audiobooks too.
Buy one. Yeah.
Well, Glenn, I guess we're going to have to give you some time.
Yeah.
Equal
time. Well, geez. I have a different path. I was a suburban guy. I'm a lawyer. Suburban guy, prepping, got a lot of resistance from my then wife. And it's my story. And one of the reasons 299 Days is so different than anything else is that I didn't think anyone would read it. I didn't write these books. It started off as a Post-it note, by the way, with some bullet points, and it ended up being 4,000 pages. 90 hours of audio for all 10 books. And I didn't think anyone would ever read it. I just couldn't stop writing it. I had never written fiction before, and I just put all this stuff together. I'm entirely certain that God was guiding this, because candidly, I don't have the talent And the books turned out very, very well, and giving credit to God on that, obviously. My point is, I could have never pulled that off. I know this because I don't even read fiction because I'm busy doing other stuff. And so there's no way I could have pulled this off, but it was just very genuine. It's just a regular guy going through the collapse, working with and leading a team of guys. And it's all about people. There are 350 named characters in the book, and it's all about people and how they react. That's what this is all about. How do people react to various situations? Some people start off as good guys and end up being bad guys. Some people start off as bad guys and end up being good guys, and everything in between. So it's really about people, and it's not the typical, I call it, excuse me, a little bit of a cold problem.
See, this is the other reason why he can't wear a mask, because he's got to keep
Yeah.
drinking.
Exactly.
So don't look at what he's. Don't look at what he's. Which beverage are you going to pick there, Mr. Tate?
We'll get to that later. But yeah. So anyway, it's not the comic book kind of prepper book, and I'm not putting any of those down, by the way. Where SEALs get in firefights with zombies. I'm not a SEAL. So, and it was very genuine, and it's about my real life friends. You alluded to that, Forrest. They're all real. That's the thing. It's all real. There's almost everything in book one is real, and people can tell, and it's very genuine. And obviously, God wanted the message to get out, and by that I mean two things: the message of preparedness, which is exactly what you're doing, Forrest, and the other sub part of that message is the kind of preparedness that I advocate and that is described in these books is kind of good guys being good guys. This is not a series of books where law and order is broken down, so let's go kill people we don't like. It's the opposite of that. And I think that I get the goosebumps. It always happens. It always happens when I'm talking about how God has used this. Oh, geez, here they go. I'm serious. I love being used by God, but not to get off on that subtopic. But anyway, it's all about that. So that is 299 days. You mentioned Prepping 2.0, which is the podcast Shelby and I do. We've had an absolute blast with it. It's taken off, and it's the idea of it, and the name is Prepping 2.0, meaning that intermediate level of prepping. As we say, Prepping 1.0 is having some beans and an AR-15. Good. We're not putting that down. I mean, it's a necessary first step. So good. Prepping 2.0 is a lot about community and water and comms and other things, but it's a more holistic. It's not just you and your immediate family. How do you get a bunch of other people through this too? So that's why it's 2.0. So there you go. That's enough about us.
So when I read your series, because you talk about a lot of different preps in the series, I realized, and you know where I'm going with this, I realized I didn't have enough pancake mix.
Knew it. It always happens. Pancake mix.
And so I had to add pancake mix to my preps, and then I struggle with the pancake syrup.
Yeah.
So what I did is, I can see on the wall right now, I have some cans of dried honey.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but what do you do? I mean, I know this is kind of off topic, but what do you do about pancake? You just have to have the bottles of syrup?
Yeah. Dollar store, and they're cheap. And every couple of years, you have to rotate them out. The caps start to corrode because they're cheap. And then you've got crystallized sugar in a 27-gallon black tub, and you just have to watch it. But I think that when things get bad enough, people will be so thankful for pancakes that the syrup will be a secondary concern. But yeah, you can't freeze dry syrup.
How about maple syrup?
You get a lot of it. I mean, I know that's anticlimactic. I mean, everyone expects us to have some amazing oven. And you could cook pancakes on a sun oven.
Oh, yeah. You guys, aren't you guys coming up with a book? Go ahead, Shelby.
Well, let me jump in here. Pure maple syrup keeps pretty well for a long time. I don't know if it's as good as honey a long time. So there's that. The second thing is just pureed fruit. I just gave to Glenn a week or so ago. I just pureed some fruit. All I did is run it through a blender and put it and slapped it on his pancakes, and he was not complaining. So there's that. But yes, to answer your question, we are working on like food preps 2.0, kind of the layering. It's not just having beans and rice, how to have layering ways to prepare it, alternative ways to prepare it, and filling gaps. And it is we're joking. We live in Washington State. That
The epicenter.
we're really hoping we get quarantined so we can get this thing done.
Yeah.
So that's a joke, but nobody hopes for a quarantine. But yeah, having some downtime would be nice.
Yeah, and also you're working on another book someone referred to earlier with the 299 series.
Actually, just last week, that's going to get moved maybe to 2021 or so.
Oh.
The publisher has so many books coming online right now. We actually would have overburdened the editing ability of the publishing company. So I hope to do it later, but it's not coming out this year.
Okay.
Breaking news, basically.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you're here to hear that?
Yeah. So we kind of what started the series was the coronavirus and the and this pandemic that's taken over the world. What do you guys say? Each of you take a few. What do you think about this? Is this the end of the world as we know it?
Yeah, ladies first.
Ladies first. I think it is. It's interesting. I've had lots of conversations with especially our local tribe here. We call it our tribe in our mutual assistance group. About 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago when it was first coming out, I kind of took the stance I did when SARS came out. It's like it's a flu. It's hard to catch. I like that we have a president that takes it more seriously than SARS was taken. And I was concerned, but then it really took off. That when it took off really bad, and then you're watching the Chinese government be so cagey and not honest about it, I got really concerned. Here's where my concerns are. My concerns are if I catch it, I'm a healthy person. I don't have any sort of immune problems or anything like that, and I will have the flu for a week. Anyone in my family will have it. Where I'm concerned is, and I don't know how this is going to work itself out. I just know what happens in other collapses is the supply lines. This has exposed how much we depend on China for medications, for medical supplies, for anything that says made in China on it. We are too dependent for production of American life, for the pristine conditions that we have in America as Americans. We are too dependent on, and that's where we're going to experience this. I'm not worried about getting sick. I know others should probably be worried. I'm worried about this disruption, and I don't think it's going to be short. I think it's going to be multiple months of disruptions in our supply lines, and that is everything. We're only seeing the very beginnings of that now here in Washington State, and we'll describe that later, but I want to give Glenn a chance to answer.
To answer your question, it's not the end of the world. It is a big deal, and it's a big deal for reasons other than what you will see on CNN or all the hysteria stuff. 4 letters describe what the problem is. Just-in-time inventory. Just-in-time inventory is what the problem is. That, of course, is the the developed world's system of only having enough inventory on hand for a day or two or whatever it might be. There are no warehouses. There are distribution centers, giant distribution centers in LA and Chicago and Atlanta and things like that. And then a Walmart will be resupplied with a big old truck. And we live out in a very rural area. We're the end of the line when it comes to supplies. A big Walmart truck will come with a case of Doritos and a case of sour cream or whatever. It's not like there's 10 days worth of sour cream sitting in a refrigerator unit. And so you can see where they get the name, just-in-time inventory coming in is what the problem is, because 2 things, supply and demand. Supply goes down because truck drivers are sick, and the people that work in the distribution centers, they're very computerized, takes a lot of technology. They're going to be sick, and they're not going to die necessarily. I mean, I don't know what the mortality rate is. I've heard 2%, I've heard 3%. It's not 100%. So I don't mean to get into a debate about what the mortality rate is, not with you guys, but I don't want to chew up time with that. It's by no means certain that you're going to die. In fact, we joked off the air before this, 2% chance of dying is like a Saturday night for me. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. But I mean, But let me jump in here though, Glenn. I think it's multifold. What you're just saying is just-in-time inventory coupled with the lack of supply
from China, and then also the quarantining of major ports that you just named.
Yeah, and here on the West Coast, we have Seattle and Tacoma. They're major ports directly from China. So supply goes down because people are sick, not dying, they're sick. And demand goes up because people are taking everything off the store shelves. Here in the Seattle area, where I think we are kind of the epicenter, we've been to Costco, and there were big dents in things. That was Wednesday night when the president made his announcement. By now, this weekend, we hear anecdotally from our friends, there's no more toilet paper, there's no more bottled water, and those sorts of things. So demand spikes right as supply is constantly dropping, which means there's going to be less stuff available, which means if you're prepared, we're talking like a pantry level of preparedness, not burying 10,000 MREs underground kind of level of preparedness, you're going to be just fine. I mean, she was joking, but actually not joking. A couple weeks off would be cool because we'll write this book. It's already outlined. I mean, it's going to be easy to do. This food preps 2.0. So anyway, that's what I think. Just-in-time inventory is what the problem is. And as you guys know, far more people die of the regular flu, like in a given day, in this country than are maybe going to die because of coronavirus. But Americans have decided to not prepare for the most part and to have this just-in-time inventory system. And we're all going to see the consequences of it. And how appropriate that Forrest Gump, I almost said Forrest Garvin, but I didn't. Forrest Gump meme was about now we're not crazy anymore. And now we don't look like the crazies. And if this opens people's eyes, so the spring and the summer, I'm guessing, we have disruptions and empty shelves and people realize this is a big problem. And hopefully it's limited to that. And then in the fall, people start to realize that being prepared, and I'm talking about having extra toilet paper and water and stuff, not the kind of preparedness that probably most PrepperNet members are at. I mean, we're talking prepping 0.05. It's not even prepping 1.0. It's prepping half. And that'll be great because then, as we always say, the number one prep is understanding that, yes, mental, is understanding that there's a reason to prep. And once you understand there's a reason to prep, how you do it and when you do it and what you get and what skills you learn, those are all details. They just flow. But until you realize there's a problem with being unprepared, you're going to stay unprepared. And so anyway, a little bit of a long-winded answer, but it is not the end of the world. In the end, it'll be a good thing. And we're going to see some major, major flaws with the current system we have.
Yep.
Shelby, it looked like you wanted to say a few things while he was talking.
Yeah, I beg to differ just a little bit. It's not the end of the world and all of that. I think we are going to see some secondary casualties, tragedies, people who can't get a hold of their diabetic medication, people who can't get a hold of their heart medication, people who can't get a hold of a CPAP machine. Those medical supplies that we've become so dependent on the Chinese for. It's not going to be coronavirus deaths, but it's going to be these secondary. That's what I see happening, especially in the elderly community and just the medically fragile community. So if you are in that community, and if you know somebody, go to your doctor right now and ask for extra prescriptions. I just talked to Floyd. Floyd is my father. He's my father. I use that name, gets his name in my books. He just found out today he can't get a hold of medication that he needs. So this is a concern. You know what I mean? So that's just the beginning. And he lives in South Carolina. And like we were just talking about, Forrest, you guys aren't really feeling it there. We're feeling it here. Costco's out of toilet paper all over. And Costco is based in Washington State. So we're starting to see the hints about it now. And the media has been very clear on this. In about March-ish, April, we're going to start seeing cleared shelves. Right now, the things that you're not surprised about missing, the toilet paper and the water and the batteries. That's always what happens whenever there's a, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But then there's going to be the things like Band-Aids. It's going to be the things that you're like, ooh, we're going to feel it. It's going to be a pinch. I don't think we're going to die or anything, but it's the medical supply ones that I think that will reverberate, and we are going to see, unfortunately, some tragedies. So sorry.
Yeah. So you're saying right now in the Washington area, there are shelves absolutely empty with some of the basics,
Yes.
Yes, and it's not that every shelf in the store is empty.
Mm-mm.
right?
The
Key items.
The key items. For example, we went Wednesday night to Costco and we noticed big dents, and now they're empty, I'm told. Hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol, Lysol wipes, Lysol spray,
Flu medicines, your
medicine.
Robitussin, and yeah.
that sort of thing. I imagine by now it is also bottled water, cases of bottled water.
Batteries.
We friends of ours put up pictures on Facebook, so it's not inside knowledge or anything, of people coming out of Costco, and they seem to have tons of toilet paper and bottled water and that sort of thing. So yes, and that to me is more like a hurricane kind of emptying of the shelves.
Yeah.
And then the Wells Fargo did an analysis, and it was in 2 mainstream newspapers 2 weeks ago. Shelby showed it to me, and they said, and they project and they look at industries and for investors and stuff, and they said big box stores that rely on China, and they mentioned Walmart, Target, and Best Buy will see, quote, empty shelves, end quote. I don't think that's a whole store. I'm just going to quote what they said, because the cool thing for us, and we've talked about this, we as conservative and Christian preppers don't need to exaggerate, because the facts and history and morality are on our side. So why would we exaggerate and lose credibility? So I'll just be very specific. They said empty shelves by mid-April. Well, that could be actually faster now. So there you have it. It's all about the stuff, and including medicine. You bring up a good point, Shelby. There are going to be some people that are not going to have their medicines. If those are psychological medicines, psychiatric, technically, medicines, we might see some people having some really rough times. We might see, I hope this doesn't happen. I could see it happening, though, deaths from people that don't have their medications, running out on the street and drawing a gun on a cop and getting shot or something. So that could be a really big problem.
Let me throw this out here too, and we were talking about this off air. We have a person that's in our tribe that we know. Again, we live kind of off the beaten path. She works for a food distributor, all kinds of restaurants and blah 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 all over the area here. And she said recently that a local jail, who normally places an order for food for the jail, $500 to $800 a week, they place an order. Last week they placed an order for $13,500. They're not ordering medications; they're ordering food, because they know that the supply chain's based upon what the media's been saying. So they're starting a stockpile.
That was a week ago, guys.
That was a week ago.
A week ago.
So it's not. Again, I go back to I my concern is, I might get the flu for a week. My concern is the supply chain disruption.
Yes. So I have an appointment because I take I think it's called a diuretic blood. It just for my blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not crazy high, but it kind of just keeps it normal. This diuretic, it's small doses, and so I have an appointment this week to go to get more. And I've also talked to a friend of mine. Her name's Elemental, and she tells me natural ways to do it. I'm just so boneheaded sometimes I don't listen to a lot that she says. But so I do have. We're going to talk about more about your area, but I do have this question that I really wrote down. Shelby, is it hard to live with Glenn Tate? I wrote that down before we even.
Well,
I'm going to be. That's awesome. That's an awesome question. You know what? I'm going to be reasonable. All of us have our moments. I can be very difficult to live with.
Okay.
Forrest, if I got your wife in an honest moment, you're probably, all of us have our moments of God. You know what? This is just not, you have our ugly moments, don't we? And we all do. And Glenn is no exception. And
y'all keep in mind, they can literally stare at each other in the eyes.
I love you, baby.
I love you.
No, sorry.
That was terrible.
I'm not going to ask you, Glenn. No one cares.
She's amazing. She's a gift from God.
So in North Carolina, not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any panic buying. I went in and bought I told the guys the other night or so that I have a lot of supplies, but they're not all at my house. Probably like you guys, you got a lot at your retreat or wherever. And so then I started taking kind of inventory of what I have here, and I'm like, maybe I need to go buy a few things. So I bought hand sanitizers, some Clorox, I mean, all the different things. So let me ask you, what's some things that people should be going, I need to go get them right now? What's something, I mean, because if you do that in South Carolina, it's not panic. The shelves aren't going to empty tomorrow because you go and buy this stuff. But what's some things do you think that people should be maybe thinking about getting besides you talked about prescription medicine? What else?
I will tell you what I'm going to do is just tell you kind of the conversation, what we've done this last week, because we're prepped. I mean, we have the the buried bunkers of food. I mean, we have what we call deep preps. Those are things for when like the EMP strikes and it's the complete breakdown of culture. That's not what we're talking about. We're gonna have just kind of this long-term season come up. So Glenn and I looked at each other and said, we need to think about like making sure our pantry is deeply stocked up, kind of thing. So what comes from China? Honestly, there's a lot of pet food that comes from China. There is, I was thinking about we probably need to get just extra pancake mix, which I got yesterday. By the way, Glenn is gluten-free, in case anyone doesn't know that. So when he wrote the books, he didn't know that. He's does
the
now.
First to go.
I know.
Don't
I'm
tell him.
fragile.
And I'll tell you this, when Glenn is not fun to live with is when he's had gluten because he doesn't feel good and he gets a little cranky. But so think about those things that are made in China or part of the supply chain. So for us, some of it was dog food, some of it was pet food because we have a lot of animals. And again, it's not that and not only that, even if it doesn't come from China, what if the supply line breaks down? So then I'm like, I got 14 chickens. It's going to be a bummer if they start not producing and start dying off. So that was our one thing. And what would you add to that, Glenn?
Yeah, you covered prescriptions. We got even more toilet paper. We were there days ahead because we're preppers and we think about these things. Two things that people might not be thinking about that are all made in China and could be a problem. Auto parts. If there's something you need on your vehicle that needs to be fixed, get it now because either the parts or the sub parts that go into the final parts, many of them are made in China.
Oh,
and I'm guessing,
high percentage, high percentage, yes.
And I'm guessing, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong, stuff like probably like transmission fluid and stuff like that. I know because I just had my truck serviced and I thought, geez, I mean, I didn't think of it in advance, but I remember thinking, wow, that was probably a pretty good idea. It was a complete coincidence. Think about that because if you can't move around, that's a problem. Radios, comms. I mean, Baofangs are probably going to start drying up here pretty soon. Other ones, I mean, Yaesu's, ICOM, those are Japanese made, and that place is getting hit pretty hard. So those are things that come to mind, and just have plenty of comfort items and deep preps of the pantry make sense. And I would add things like, if you don't already have them, think about what it's going to be like being in your house for a couple weeks. I think some playing cards and some board games would be good. Books.
Yeah, and at this point, there's no indications of any sort of grid down. So yeah, there's a good one. And I will add this. There's a little. By the way, we can all see your comments over there. And there's somebody over there's like, Best Buy. That's electronics. Yeah, it's electronics. It's radios. It's sound. It's
Chinese stuff.
Chinese made stuff. So, but you're like, I don't need an extra TV. No, but if your phone is on its last legs, you might want to upgrade it. You know what I mean? It's those things like that. So just think about those, especially comfort things that. Get them now. There's going to be a big disruption.
You know, the interesting thing, I didn't think about this. I travel a lot to a couple different, being the CEO of Sun Oven, I've been driving to Chicago. That's 12 hours. I literally get my oil changed monthly on my vehicle. And I travel quite a bit. I drive a lot of bit. I love driving though. I listen to books and like 10 of them in a row. I'm weird, but I didn't even think about it. I should go like buying an extra oil filter because I think we'll be able to get oil, but the oil filter I know is made in China.
Exactly.
And so that's I didn't even think about that. Now JJS was on last night.
Good friend of ours, yes.
Yeah, good friend of yep. And so he said we could use a string with a can. And we don't.
Oh, not without an FCC license.
Well, tell me about what's Pam. Who's this girl, Pam?
Let me tell you.
Can I
She
bring
and
it
I
up?
have exchanged. No, I'm kidding. I can't do
Glad
it.
you asked for it.
Can I bring it up? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's this girl, Pam?
Yeah. Pam Radio is a set of free electronic flashcards that I'm getting out soon. The developer literally should have them done tonight. I don't know if that's going to happen. He's a great guy, but he's got a day job. And so soon, and it stands for Prepper Amateur Radio. And it is different than ham radio, different name among other things. But the P in Pam Radio, not only is it Prepper Amateur Radio, it might as well be Practical Amateur Radio. The whole idea of these free flashcards, and you just flip them on your phone, it asks you a question, and then there's an answer, and you can click on a link, like what's a good antenna for a Baofeng UV5R? Okay, well, here's one. There's a link to it. So it's a way to get stuff that I have bought stuff and figured out what doesn't work, and I figured out what the counterfeit items are that really don't work. So these are good links, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the difference between ham radio test prep flashcards or anything else about ham radio is that's all about passing a test. We don't care about the test. You should get your ham radio license because it's really, really easy. Hamstudy.org is a great set of flashcards unaffiliated with us that we find to be really, really good. So this is not a
Hey, Sam, I have to jump here. Hi, Sam. Look who just jumped in. Hi, Sam.
Oh,
Board Observer.
He was on last night. He had his day to shine last night.
He does that at the beginning of his show. Hello there, Samuel, if that is your real name. But ham radio is the practical stuff, and it's about, because here's how it came about. I didn't know anything about radios, didn't care about radios, wasn't interested, and I said I have to learn this to just talk to my team and talk to my neighborhood, and I have to then teach my team and teach my neighborhood the basics. And from that, it became a series of flashcards and a thing. And so I'll stop talking about it because I made the point, but I'll simply say this: the website to get the free cards when they come out, you'll get an email with the free flashcard link. PAM dash radio.com. PAM dash radio.com. I think it's going to be big. We'll probably work with PrepperNet on this because this is the kind of thing. There's this high hill. Oh, geez, I don't know anything about ham radio. I don't want to learn equations. I don't want to learn about the ionosphere. I can't do this. No, you can. And you just do some cards, and it's practical, and bam, and then you're on to the next topic. That's what it's about. You don't need a new hobby. You don't need to spend money on stuff. You just need to know some stuff. That's what it's all about. So thank you for asking. It's become a real passion with me because it's going to save lives. People are going to be able to communicate because of this, and it's going to save lives. When the motorcycle gang is rumbling through the neighborhood and you get word of it because your neighbor called you on a easy-to-use radio that costs $25, that's what we're talking about.
Yes. So if you're just getting into ham radio, go to PAM. And then once you get experience and you get your education, you can move over to Amron.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh gosh, yeah. And not feel lost in here's the thing. I have my ham license, and all that means is that I can talk on the radio legally. Does not mean I know anything. All I did by passing that exam is prove that I can memorize answers really, really well. There's a whole slew of things that you need to learn, and that's the problem, is that people get their license and go,
now what do I do?
Crow, what do I do now to understand all of this, and how much money do you have to spend to problem solve and troubleshoot? And this takes care of all of that.
Yes. So I asked you guys about things to buy. Did y'all not want to get into the list of things that people should buy? Or should we not do that? I guess that list has been out there and done.
What do you think, Glenn?
Well, the normal stuff, and then I added.
You all went to China to auto parts, and I was thinking people can't eat auto parts.
No, I would honestly, because I don't think this is just me. I think this is going to be several months of supply chain issues. Make sure your pantry is full. We're not talking about going out and bearing another storage shipping container full of. It's not that kind of apocalypse, but it will be incredibly disruptive. And prioritize those things that are necessities: medications, medical supplies. I went to a store last night and bought extra bleach, and I got the last 2 bottles. So
to answer the question is, whatever you normally eat and use as far as consumables, get more of that. And we're not trying to be vague. We don't know what you eat. And so it's the standard. It's kind of what it just hit me. It's the beginning things you do as a prepper.
Right.
You get more of what you already use and you store it and then you use it. It's just that. And you mentioned for us that you've got all this stuff, but you realized you needed to hit the refresh button and kind of top off some of your things you're normally using. That would be the answer, and that's what we've done. But pet food, auto parts, propane. Okay, now where we are, we're so rural that we don't have natural gas lines. Everyone has propane tanks. Propane and propane accessories. There you go. I knew that'd get you.
If you were born after 1985, you know what he just said.
Yeah.
Before that, actually.
By the way, Sam Culper does a mean Hank Hill imitation.
Hank Hill?
I know you're listening, Sam. But anyway, we got the propane tank topped off, and it's funny. This is great. This is a great anecdotal thing about how out to lunch the general population is. So I call up the propane company, give an order, and she says it'll be out next week. And then because I'm a dope, I don't know what my problem is. I said, well, that's good because in about a month, all your drivers are going to be sick. She's like, what
are you talking about?
What are you even talking about? And I was like, never mind.
Never mind.
That's the problem.
No.
The propane drivers are going to be sick and all the orders are going to back up. And you need propane as your primary source of heat and heating up water. So just think of all the things that are consumables that you use. You know what? I just thought of this, and this happens all the time as we're answering a question. I come up with what I actually mean. Look at what you buy. Go, if you have a debit card or whatever, look at the stuff you buy and say, well, I think we need that, and I think we need that. So there you go. There's your shopping list of what you bought the past month or two. That's what we're talking about.
And let me add to that. You said refresh, because Clorox actually loses its potency, I guess, over time. So if you're trying to kill a virus on a surface and you're using a year-old Clorox, that might not be good. So Clorox, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers on that, but everybody says it and I believe it.
Must be true, right?
It must be true because, I have no facts on that, but I've heard a ton of people say, someone put in the comments it's good for 6 months. Okay, at least someone's backing me up there. So
get full shock. Go to a swimming pool place and get granulized chlorine, and then you can mix it and make your own bleach.
Right. Yes. So what do you guys, let's say, okay, for the rest of America, we could watch Washington to see what's going on. You've got a few cases. Someone did pass away. And tell us that of some more people that just went on quarantine. If you'll tell us about that, and then I'll get into my question.
Yeah. We have a friend, one of our mutual assistance group guys, who is a law enforcement officer, which is fabulous, a great source of information. 12 members of a suburban Seattle fire department, Kirkland, it was just announced that they're all sick, and 2 police officers. And my response to him was, here we go. See, we're going to start having firefighters, ambulance drivers, medics, doctors, nurses are all going to get this. And not just because they're in more contact with it, although I'm sure that's part of it. It's just because it's people going to be sick. Are any of these firefighters, let's say, going to die? Statistically speaking, nope, they aren't. But they're not going to be out fighting fires. And then there's going to have to be the people who aren't sick are going to have to be doing overtime. See where all this is going? And so this will roll out. And so that was just this afternoon's announcement. in a week, it'll probably be a lot more people. I bet we're going to start seeing guards at jails being sick, and that's going to have all kinds of things. And Shelby has some answers too.
So this is an update too. By the way, there's also confirmed in Kirkland, Washington, a retirement community. So you have that, because those are people who are elderly. Those are people with compromised immune systems and compromised health. Sadly, I think that's not going to have great outcomes. This just in from someone else in our mutual assistance groups. This is unconfirmed. So let me get that out there right now. Unconfirmed at this time that at a local jail, there's coronavirus. So wherever there's, and we've had schools, a school in Bothell, Washington shut down. There's a school in just south of Portland, the Tiger Tualatin School District has had exposure as well. And that right there, when that happened, that's when the Costco's in the Portland, Oregon area went just bonkers nuts. So this is what's happening. And these are all going to be in high density areas where there's a lot of people, there's a lot of surfaces, there's a lot of, schools and jails. There's a lot of people there that may or may not be in the best of health and may or may not have the best hand washing and that sort of just good habits. So that's what's happening here. And so in that, because this is what our news is reporting, that's why all of the runs at the stores and that sort of thing. I had to go into the city into a big city yesterday. I saw people with masks. I thought that was kind of silly. And I really wanted to get out of it because everywhere I go and everything I touch and everything I breathe. But on the other hand, I'm like, I might get the flu. It's okay.
And here's an important point. What we're seeing in Seattle as of March 1st is going to be in North Carolina.
Your city soon.
And and so take what we've just described.
Yep.
In a month, it's
so
just
we
going to
can
get
watch what is going on there and kind of. So I do want to confirm there is another one dead in Washington now.
Yeah, I just saw that. That is news. That is news.
Yep.
That had to just happen in the last few hours because the news is pretty rapid right now. Yeah.
So
that is sad.
That is confirmed, yes. But the first lady I think the lady or man that died had major health issues before she died. I don't know about this individual, but
there's also confirmed cases in Illinois and now New York. So I think it's coming. And I will say this, Forrest, to you regarding your medication. Floyd, my father, who is having a hard time getting his medication, lives in near Charlotte.
Well, that's why they make AR-15s, right?
Yes, it is. Exactly. So I'm just saying, you're already starting to. That to me is like it's starting to get to you a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. So another confirmed case. So we want to hear that person was deathly ill beforehand or something. But the cool thing is, kids aren't getting this. They're not dying from this, which is very interesting.
No kidding. And that's a concern, yeah.
I do have a question to the people watching here. Everyone's saying pool shock. Now, isn't there some pool shock that doesn't work? I mean, in there a particular chemical? Because some of them, or do all pool shock you can do that with? I don't know. I've never done it.
I don't know.
It's a brand name. I know that. I will say this. We don't know that much about it, except I know this.
I don't either.
We have interviewed, and Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy were just on the other night here. We interviewed them. Go to our website, prepping2-0.com. We interviewed them like November, October.
Yeah.
And they described the pool shock.
Yeah.
Everything you need to know about pool shock.
There's someone that said it's 72. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Engineer 77. Y'all know? Oh, Scott Hunt is in the house.
Scott,
answer his email.
I want you on the show, Scott. I want you on the show, and you're not answering my email. And I know you get a lot. My name's Glenn Tate. We'll talk.
People,
I know Forrest.
He knows Shell. He's married to me.
That's why he's not replying to you. No. But he's going to be
he logged off
Tuesday night. So I do have another question, and you guys might know might not know, but someone earlier, as a joke, bread and milk. But do we know if this affects animals yet? Like the swan flu. I mean, it killed like half the pigs in China.
I've seen alternative media sorts of places where it's like a dog or a pet can catch it. I think it's more it lives on surfaces longer So when you sneeze and your pets are in the room and then you go pet your dog and right, it's a surface thing. I don't think dogs and cats are dying from it. I think it's a surface issue. That's what I'm seeing. That is completely unconfirmed, but that is what I've read in very alternative
We got
media.
some geniuses that always are in our chat room, and I'm sure
There was a
they're.
dog infected there. Yeah, that's what someone just said. Yeah, wow.
So let me tell you,
Jeez.
engineer said he's in his bunker now, which the dude makes bunkers for a living. So
That's why I want him on
um,
the show.
yeah. And here's Sam Copler said that a dog
Mhm.
caught it, and it's confirmed.
There you go.
Okay.
Do we have like a chart for dogs and animals like we do for people? You know,
Well, and that's kind of I'm gonna give a really bad joke. In China, I think it's kind of hard to confirm it because don't go there. He's saying dogs and it's a food source, not necessarily a pet, right?
look at
Sorry, it's
this.
true.
This is a match made in heaven. So
This is
Scott
what
said, I would
PrepperNet
be
does so
happy
well.
to
They
be.
map preppers up. Look at that. Engineer 775 is now.
Say that he would be on your.
All right, cool.
So this is preppersonly.com. If you're looking for someone or you need a boyfriend, a girlfriend, we are here for you.
Or a guest on a show.
So yeah, or a guest on the show. So next question. Let's go on down the list. So Shelby, when I went out and bought a few things, I bought different things than what my wife bought. She bought a few things for the kids, some women hygiene products, things like that. So how does a woman go about through and thinking, because a lot of them, thinking about kids, thinking about more of the family, taking care of, what goes through your mind or different thought pattern from women than men on this?
I will answer from a woman, and then I'm going to let Glenn talk because then he'll answer from a man, and you guys, and I'll let
Wait,
you guys.
Lynn's a man? No.
I know. I'm going to just let that hang out there for a little while and let y'all decide for yourself. So when this happens, this is what I think. I think about food. I think about the members of my household, the members of my tribe that need food. And then we reached out to our local tribe here. Hey, we need to get together and make sure we're all taking care of each other. In our tribe, there is a small child, so there's that too. So yes, we think about it becomes very family oriented. It becomes meals and it becomes medical. For me, thirdly, I would say third in that, it then becomes sadly, maybe not, pets and animals. And the dogs and the cats, it's okay if they don't make it. The chickens are a food source for us. So I'm making sure. So then it's like pet food and ways to get them food. And so that's what I think about. The other thing I think about is my job. I work around one of these places and near one of these places that could get shut down. And so I know my propensity for exposure is probably the highest in our household. So those are the things that I'm thinking about and preparing for. I'm preparing for honestly possibly being quarantined. I'm possibly being sick, and I'm okay with that because I know I'm healthy. I know I'm not one of these people that has a compromised health. So that's what I'm thinking. But I will say this, and I'm going to let Glenn answer here in a moment. When we started kind of having a big pantry stock up last week, we're texting, hey, I'm here. What should I get? Hey, could you pick up some of this? He got the chicken feed. I didn't need to. I got the dog food this last weekend. So we are in constant communication about, hey, while you're there, can you pick up this? So he got the car repaired last week. That's it. I wouldn't have thought of that. Fill up your gas tanks because, again, that's a supply line thing. Glenn, what do you think?
Nothing to add. I'm hearing what Forrest is saying about feminine hygiene products, and that's a really important thing. I did back in 2014, probably the blog post that got the most views ever from me was, my name is Glenn Tate and I buy tampons. And it was a funny tongue-in-cheek thing about that topic, but it's extremely important. I didn't think of it, to be very candid with you. So that would be huge. And you know what I think is going to happen is there's going to be this first wave of stuff that people think about, like we did, like hand sanitizer and water and toilet paper. And then there's going to be this second level of stuff that people think, you know what? And then like feminine hygiene products and other things are going to be in there. So try to always be one
Vitamins.
step ahead. Vitamins, yeah. Try to always be one step ahead. And again, look at what you buy. Oh, you know what? I just thought of this. Not only if you have a debit card and you look at things, that'll just tell you the store you went to. Go onto your Amazon orders and see what you ordered from Amazon, because that stuff isn't going to be rolling in. Now, we live in a very rural place, as we mentioned. This is how we get stuff. I mean, the local stores don't have what you need for the most part. So look at what you order on Amazon. Maybe that'll give you an idea. Just thought of that.
And also know that vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin D, they're not even made in America.
Yeah.
These
Exactly.
are supply lines that you're not going to be able to get vitamin C because they're not making vitamin C right now. And there's a particular vitamin C you want to take. And I think it's the powdered kind. Y'all know what I'm sure.
Yes.
And so, and a lot of people do the elderberry as well.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up a boatload of elderberry from my from Elemental. A lot of you guys in Preparedness know who Elemental is. I love that lady. And she's nearby. I can go grab her anytime. Kidnapped her, take her to my retreat.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
She just wants me to bring her husband. I don't know. I mean,
Forrest, you have the right to remain silent, and it's a good idea to do that right now. So I'm just putting that out there.
But
Okay.
going back to that though too, feminine products come from China. I would stock up on a 6-month to a year supply. And honestly, women, you should always have that. Let's just be honest. But yeah, I would make sure you have. And if you have a teenager, let me just say this: if you have an 11-year-old in your house, I would stock up because you don't know what's going to happen. And then that's when that age starts to come around. I'm going to be sorry, guys. This is how the women bodies work.
you're right.
Yeah.
So women do think through this a little bit different than men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Men think protection, maybe food, bullets, maybe Band-Aids, but there's a softer side that some of the men can't relate to. Isn't that right, Glenn?
It is right. I have no empathy for anyone. I just want to shoot people. Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm kidding.
No.
Oh no, you're not. They can go pound sand.
that's right.
Forget them.
So let me ask you this, Glenn. You write about your group,
Yeah.
kind of in the 299 days, and y'all have a real group and it's real people.
Yeah.
What have you guys been talking about? Is it time for you guys to
This is a good one for
Yeah.
you, sir.
pack up everything and head out,
Yeah.
or and when do you make that decision? I mean, all that. Just go for it.
Oh, geez, what a great topic. I had an hour and a half conversation with one of my team members, and I told him I'll be talking to him this week, and I haven't been able to. But the first one was a great template for what I think the discussion should be. And this guy's a law enforcement officer. And the first thing I went over, asked him about, really, I didn't go over it, but the first topic was, what's your sick leave policy, and what kind of HR standards are there for when you can leave? And by HR standards, I don't just mean sick leave. It's basically when there's an emergency that's declared some way, they have to go to work, right? And they do 12-hour shifts. They have a code name for it. It's some project, and they all sign an agreement saying that they'll show up. So it was, are you going to do that? Do you really have to do that? And that's the main thing. Every person in your group, you should have a conversation with them about what are some avenues that make it easy for you to leave, like you've got a job that lets you or something like that, or what are some things that hold you back from just leaving at any time. And we are talking about a pretty typical bug out situation, and that would be the guys in the urban areas coming to us in the rural area. And not everybody's going to bug out, so this may not apply. But just have a conversation about how could you leave and when would you leave? Or maybe somebody else I talked to would say, well, at my job, when a third of the people are sick, then everybody goes home. Think of like a school or something like that. So that's the first thing. As far as everything else, it's standard stuff that we've talked about a million times with our guys. They know where to go, and they have ham radios with repeaters all along the way and all of that other stuff. So that's the standard stuff, and that's the easy stuff. But it really gets down to when can you go. And the conversation I had with this team member, And he's not in the books, by the way, so I wouldn't just tell you his character name if he were in the books, but he came on the team after the books came out. It was, you'll know. And he said, yeah, I'll know. And it's kind of like, it's less dramatic, but it's kind of like that question, when should I draw a gun? When should I shoot somebody? And the answer is, you'll know. I don't know, but you'll know. And I think it's going to be the same thing, because here's what I told him. I said, worst case scenario, you jump early and you walk off your job and you come here. What are they going to do? Fire you? Because here's the thing. They can't hire enough law enforcement officers. There's always, recruitment bonuses, thousands of dollars they pay guys to get a cop, to lateral over from another department. They constantly have 20% vacancy rates on all the positions they have, right? They're not going to fire you. And he thought about it. And he goes, yeah, that does make sense. So that's what I'm talking about. And I said HR, and that wasn't really precise, but these kind of conversations, here's the thing. You're gone for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, and your job's going to be there. Your job's going to be there. And if it isn't, that would surprise me. And better to be what?
Susan Lowry asked, should we think about condoms? Well, do you want to have a baby?
Yes.
Oh, no,
Hey,
I'm
there
good.
could be a big baby
That was
boom
a
after
question to
this.
somebody else. I thought you were asking me.
No.
Hard no.
No.
Anyway, that's the team thing. So way to go and get me off on another topic.
So is your team? So your team's ready, but what's the key? What's the trigger? Like,
I don't know is the answer. I mean,
and I'm going to say this: it depends on where you live. I mean, he
Okay.
lives near a hot zone. He lives in a place right now. He lives near a place where some of these, these are shutting down. He's also, here's the other thing that if we're thinking of the same person, what is he and his wife are very
this is
different.
important.
He is a prepper and he is a conservative. She is not.
huh,
She's
that
not an
sounds
on-board prepper.
familiar.
it does.
It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it does sound very familiar. It's very similar, and he is, they both put up with each other, and it's hard to live with somebody when you have key things that you don't agree with, and God bless them, and I pray for them, but she's now been like, we need to prepare. I think this right now, what's happening, we're going to see more and more of those people. We already are. People who are like, oh my God, they're the ones buying toilet paper right now because we've already got 1,000 rolls. Who cares, But
Right.
they're starting at the prepping point 111. Don't do a neener. You're right. We do need to prepare. This is what I have for us. What do you think we need? Let's continue to do this, because even though this will pass, there could always be something else, and use it as a way to get going. Yeah. We are praying that this particular person, this turns into, is kind of a petri dish, the beginnings. So yeah. Oh yeah. Dillinger 63. Amen.
Yep. So if we were joking about the man being a conservative and a prepper and a wife, read Glenn's books and you'll see.
And this is a different guy. This isn't me.
This isn't you.
But this is his books hit that nerve. That's what it was. So many people wrote to him, hundreds probably over the years.
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation. And it's heartbreaking.
Hey, I'm looking at my news feed here, and it has this statement here. It's really concerning, somewhat. It says this strongly suggests that the virus has been lingering around Washington for the past 6 weeks with no cases. People didn't, so it's been there. So with that said, tomorrow there could be 200 people that show up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And I put that on the at the feet of the Chinese for being absolutely dishonest about how they handled this and how they've not asked for worldwide help, and they use their communists do this. This is what they do. So that if there are deaths in Washington State because of that, what you just described, that I lay at the feet of the Chinese and I put the blame. Blood is on their hands for that. So funny how you don't hear about Hong Kong protests anymore, huh?
True. But JJS, which you guys know, he was talking about, and I I don't do conspiracy theories. I'm not even saying this is a conspiracy theory, but
Right.
he said that some guy stole it from Canada. I kid you not. Y'all may have heard this. I just
Yeah.
never heard this. Some guy stole it from Canada, took it to China, and then they released it there. Have you heard anything about that?
No,
I-
I haven't heard that.
I've heard that thing, but here's a key fact that could turn this from being a conspiracy theory into what I think is pretty realistic, and that is it could have been released by mistake. The idea, because I don't think the Chinese, as evil as they are because they're communists, I don't think they would have decimated their own economy. Notice I didn't say their own people, because
Right.
communists don't care about people. They wouldn't have messed up the slave factories that they have in China, because they're the people who run that country. It's organized crime, basically. They're a bunch of corrupt crony capitalists, blah, blah, blah. I don't think they would have done that on purpose for that reason. So it could have been released by mistake. And the other thing about communist countries, communist societies, is that everything is kind of poorly done and mediocre and schlocky. It's like, yeah, you need an airlock in here so air doesn't get out. Yeah. I'll fix that on Friday. And then they don't. I mean, I don't know what happened. So it makes a lot of sense to me that if it was either weaponized or strengthened, and there's a difference between those two things, it was released accidentally. To me, that makes a ton of sense. But I truly don't know. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter. I mean, politically, I don't think Trump gets blamed for this. I know that the Sanders people are harping on him. I don't think the American people would blame Trump for this. And so, if anything, I think he does well politically from this, and not that he wants it. But anyway, I don't mean to go into politics.
CNN, I shared last night. They had last night that Donald Trump was working with Russia, paying off Ukraine.
Oh, of course.
And they made this virus and released it to China.
CNN, the Communist News Network.
I'm just kidding on
Right.
that,
Oh
but
my word!
Could you imagine that they
Good
would?
Lord.
I mean, they would come up with something like this. So what's the next step for Seattle if this thing blows up? 20,000 people,
Yeah.
40,000 people. Is this something that will go through Seattle? And so one of the guys I follow, his name is Dr. Hatfield. He's on the
He's the real McCoy.
yes,
Hatfield.
yeah.
Get
Yeah.
it? Get it? Get it?
I get it. He's on the
Prep for
Steve Bannon
stand-up.
show, called War Room Pandemic. And he said a couple of weeks ago, he said that 70% of the world will get this disease or this virus.
I don't know about that figure. I read something in, of all places, the Atlantic, which is an East Coast commie elitist thing. And the title was very alluring, so I read it, but I kind of agree with it. Stop, clock is right twice a day.
All right, everybody stop and breathe. It's okay.
The name of the article was, "You're going to get coronavirus." And the point it made was, if it has a mortality rate of 2%, assume that's true, it's going to spread, and carriers aren't going to drop dead. They compared it to SARS, which had a mortality rate, they mentioned 40%. And they said that stopped pretty quickly because people died, and they weren't going to the supermarket and pushing a cart and getting their hand juices on the cart and somebody else getting it. So the very fact that the mortality rate is low means it has a wider distribution. Now, the wider distribution times 2% might mean more people die.
Well, and the other thing with it, though, too, it has a low mortality rate, but its incubation period in asymptomatic people is huge. You can have it for 2 weeks with no symptoms, and you can go on all kinds of airplanes, touch all kinds of surfaces, sneeze all over everything, and that's the problem. So, yes, I think the chances of you getting it are, if it doesn't start dissipating in some way.
And so here's what I've been telling people. Hey, if I'm going to get it, I don't want to get it this week. I want to get it in 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
When it's close to maybe a vaccination. Our medical, in the beginning, the load on our healthcare system is going to be high.
Yes.
And then we're going to realize, maybe we'll figure it out more in America because that's real numbers as opposed to taking China numbers and trying to make it real. And we'll figure it out. And as the healthcare system recovers, hopefully, then possibly you would want to get it.
Yeah, you'd be vaccinated.
Or a shot. Yeah.
Well, you asked for us what'll happen to Seattle, and you mentioned 40,000 people getting it. Here's what I foresee. Seattle, of course, is a decadent, broken, wicked, awful place. And with huge government. When you add all those things together, by the way, there are a lot of people in Seattle that lead risky lifestyles and are very susceptible to these things. And you're going to have that. I see the government, the liberals who run things.
You have to explain that a little bit more.
No, I actually don't.
No details, please. Seriously.
But I think that we're going to see things like quarantine, camps and things like that. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm not freaking out, but there is going to be heavy-handedness. That's the level of stridency I would see. Heavy-handedness, and they're gonna tell people they're going to get free medical care if they go to these places and all of that other stuff. I see it looking scary to a lot of Americans how Seattle is going to deal with it. And the other thing that I see, and this is going to be fun to watch now that I think about it, political correctness on parade is what I would call it. In Seattle, it would just be unthinkable to say maybe people shouldn't come from China as often or in as
that's
big a
racist.
number.
Oh, no.
And then you're going to see like the whole public health strategy will be driven by not talking about anything other than how bad straight white males are. So that'll be interesting. That's why I call it political correctness on parade.
Well,
so that's what people are going to see, I think, from Seattle. Sorry.
And jump in here just a little bit. We're seeing little bits of this already, and I think we're going to see a little bit more rollout of it. The people who are on that cruise ship, whatever, the Pacific, whatever, that
the Diamond or something.
Thank you, Pacific Diamond. That was people got taken off of that and put in quarantine at military bases. We were getting alerts 2-3 weeks ago that XYZ military bases were being set aside for quarantining. I think those are going to start getting used. One person just brought up a good point, and I agree with you. When this goes through the homeless community, they're already sick. The homeless community in LA is one of the biggest carriers of typhoid and some of those older diseases because those are carried by rodents. I think we're going to see some, again, tragedies where we're going to see death. Or we're going to see, oh my gosh, we have these people who have typhoid. We need to quarantine them. How do we do that? We need almost a whole different way to quarantine them. So it's going to get a little weird, I think, for the next few weeks. And I agree with Glenn. I think people are going to be looking Seattle. You're kind of laying the groundwork here. I hope they do it right. Kind of don't think they are because it's run by a bunch of communists. Did I say that? Yes, I did, because I agree. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it happened, so you guys aren't afraid of this. You think it's the flu.
Yep.
Somewhat
it's
like
a
the
serious flu.
Don't you remember? I've had people, that's the biggest comment that has been posted on all our videos and the emails. It's not like the flu. And the reason they're saying that is because I think they're getting bad information from, China, 1 billion people have it, and, and they're just getting bad information. But when you look at countries that have a healthcare system and you look at their numbers, take China numbers completely out of it, and you look at Singapore, you look at
Italy,
Japan, you look at all these places, wherever there's another hotspot, Italy.
Yeah.
The numbers are in the low percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is only the flu, but it's bigger than the flu. And here's what I mean by that. It's only the flu in the sense of the symptoms, and it's discomforting
Recovery.
and a low death rate. Yes. It's not like the flu because it is so contagious, has a long incubation period, and all of these other things. So it's like a really fast spreading regular flu. And again, I'm simplifying it, and it's different. It's probably a little bit, it's a new kind of flu, so it's going to be a little bit more deadly because people haven't had it. But anyway, yeah, it's basically like if you, instead of the world being the world, if the world were, your office where a couple hundred people work, if the flu spread like crazy there, that's kind of what it is. Like a lot of people get sick, a lot of people can't go to work, but not a lot of people died or 0 people died. So it's the flu, but it spreads more, which gets into the just-in-time inventory, gets into the hoarding, gets into the stuff we talked about earlier. And that's what the problem is. As I always say, it's not the threat that kills you, it's how people react to it.
Mm-hmm.
If the meteor is going to strike Earth, you're not going to get hit on the head with a meteor. Low probability.
Right.
But people flipping out and emptying store shelves and robbing people and blah, 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 all the stuff that we know about, that's what'll get you.
And I will jump in here and add this to Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy were the ones who launched this series. Thanks to them, we also interviewed them, and Dr. Bones spoke about this very thing. If you want to hear that show, it'll be uploaded on our prepping2-0.com website on Wednesday. So this whole, and I think Dr. Bones brings out a good. You'll hear this when you listen. The other thing we need to be cautious of, in as we consider this. There are countries that are not embracing of the truth and transparency. China is obviously one of them. North Korea, we don't know what the heck's going on over there. They're not telling us anything. There's Pakistan. There's a couple of countries there that that probably are getting hit pretty hard. And it also depends on what their medical system is like. I know when this hits Africa, it's going to be devastating because they already, while they have a lot of expertise in contagious diseases because of Ebola, they don't have the medical system that can handle this. And again, this all also globally brings the big, oh my gosh, where do all the world's supply of medical supply comes from? China. Well, they got them all. They're not selling them now. They're taking care of their own. So there's that whole mix in there too.
I'm going to do a quick commercial if y'all don't mind.
Yeah.
I've got these N95 masks and I'm selling for $400 right now per box.
Wow. What a deal.
And if you call 1-800, I'll pay anything.
Yeah.
So with that,
But I have gold and silver. I can give it to you now for some masks.
of course, that's a joke, but don't panic if you don't have an N95 mask.
No.
Because there's an easy solution, the easiest solution of everything. Don't go see people. Right? So I do want to, and I said this last night, I think I said this a couple of nights. I do want to throw this out there, and I think we talked about it before the show a little bit. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. If you currently have a job that you could possibly work from home, start working that out with your employer now. Because if you're not going into work and there's no work you can do, you might not get paid. But so go to your employer and say, hey, listen, I have kids or whatever. Is there a way I can get the VPN, get to the email and all this set up? Go ahead and start working these avenues now. So if something happens, you can work from home and get paid and still, provide for your family. And don't be that person that has a lot of jobs are hands-on, but there's a lot of office jobs you could possibly work from home. You better start that now.
Yeah.
Right? And companies better start doing that. And if they don't, your paycheck is more important than make sure that you can at least do it. Go ahead.
And that's what brings up. Okay, so there's the initial virus, right, that we know. There's the second, the hoarding, the empty shelves. Then the third is, and you're hitting at it, the economic collapse. That we're watching the stock market do all kinds of crazy stuff right now. So yes, and I appreciate the CDC being very strident about that and coming out and saying, try to make what you just said. Try to make it and start talking to your employers. Employers, be ready to have your employees work from home. And I think that's just smart.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and people always do post this. I've seen this in every mask are for sick people. Yes, they are.
Yeah,
But
so that the rest of us don't
doctor-
catch your stuff. Yeah.
But every doctor that goes into a room uses a mask because a lot of people don't know they're sick or what they have. So it does protect the people that have the mask on. Now, with Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy, you do have to have goggles, gloves, and you can't imagine that you can't get any of this in your eyes, ears, or throat or nose. So you got to wear goggles, a mask, gloves, and you got to take it off properly, all that stuff. And so he's going to be on their podcast on Wednesday, and he was on our first show. But yes, masks were originally made to keep the sick people sick, I guess.
To keep them from spraying their
Yes. I mean, if I could vote, any kid under the age of like 13 would always wear a mask. But anyway, that's not possible.
Yep.
So with everything that we've said, what's changing? How are your lives changed? What are you guys? You're doing a few things different, maybe. Mm-hmm. What are you doing different or about to start doing different, knowing that Seattle is going to be the hotbed, it looks like, for America in the beginning?
I would say we have, and we talked about this off air before the show. We have, we're going to be having a pretty good come to the TP meeting with the tribe here in our local area. Specifically talking about supply lines and potential for one of us within our tribe getting the infection and what that looks like. So there's that, and I encourage people to do that too. I would say we got all the pantry stuff up and going, and also just preparing for if one of us gets it, what does that look like for us we will self-quarantine, and we're happy to do that. And what does that look like? So that's what we've started to do. And right now it's conversational. As you just honestly, just as we've sat here for the last hour and a half, the news has changed. You've seen people, right. We're watching what you guys are writing. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's been another death. Oh my gosh. So, and so the news is rapidly changing. And just think about what it was like in China, the news that was coming out of China, I should say. I hope we're not visiting, no one's visiting China right now, but in China, like every day 3 weeks ago, it was like bam, bam, bam. Mm-hmm. That's going to start happening here to some degree, and it's going to get a little overwhelming. Take a deep breath, and wherever you're at, where you live is very different than where we live. Just plan accordingly and use your mind and not your emotions, and try to find the truth in all of this crazy news feed stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What would you say, Glenn?
All of that, and then this is very anticlimactic, but it is true. Yesterday, as I was getting texts every couple minutes about some new update on this, and the topic was on my mind. It was a beautiful sunny day in Western Washington, and Shelby was away from the house, and I was just kind of working in the yard, and I just kind of sat there, and I just kind of took it all in, and kind of, I don't know, I felt so comfortable and so well prepared. I'm not being prideful or anything like that. I had a very calming moment. And I know that's anticlimactic. That's, not an action plan, is to sit around and feel good about yourself, right? But the one thing that I've started to think about, and I haven't done it differently, but one thing I've been thinking about is people that are going to try to come to our place because they need, for example, toilet paper. Now, this isn't the usual scenario of, and we've all talked about this, and everybody has a plan, hopefully, for, in a collapse situation, if people are coming to my house for food and they're desperate, what do I do? This is different than that. This is people coming to our house because they need comfort items that are going to return in a few weeks, like toilet paper being a great example. And it's a different calculation because I'm not going to give people food that my family needs and that my team needs and that can't be resupplied easily. It's a different threshold for toilet paper, right? And I've been having that conversation in my head, and I think the point I would send out to everybody is understand it's a different threshold. If there's going to be disruptions in supply, but there's still going to be toilet paper, in a couple weeks or months or whatever, don't pull a gun on somebody that says, do you have any toilet paper? If this is a collapse and somebody says, I want your canned food, bam, okay, that's a different thing. So realize it's different. I think everybody would by common sense, but don't be stuck in a rut. I just realized this. Don't be stuck in a rut of like prepper fiction novels where people come to your house and you have to drive them off with an AR-15. You may be able to give people some toilet paper and they're not going to come back and kill you because 2 weeks from now, Costco will have toilet paper again.
2 months from now, not 2 weeks, 2 months.
I'm making all this up, but yes,
So,
I mean, in a while.
That's
But
a
yeah,
good question. How do you give until it hurts, or and so the question is, if I knew in my mind in 6 months the shelves will be back full. If we go through full pandemic, but in 6 months everything will start looking to get back. If I knew that number, then it'd be easier for me to know how much I could give,
yeah,
or what I need to buy. You know what I mean?
exactly.
That's the hard. I don't think there's any answer to that because I think it's somewhat dependent. Obviously, dependent on what happens to supply lines. It also depends on where you're at. You know,
It's
that's a hard one.
13 years is what I have in my paper. No, I'm kidding.
So, but let me say this. What I've read about what this has done to just the production in China has been devastating. Two, on top of it, I could see congressional legislation going through pulling that plug. We cannot be that dependent on China. I think there's going to be some laws made from this. So I think there's going to be at least a basic disruption of, comfort items through the summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could go longer. So that's my prediction on that. And it's not gotten bad yet. I think it's going to start getting bad, like what the media has said about April. We're going to be like, okay, I can't get my soy milk latte now. That really is, I'm being funny, but we're going to start seeing things like real necessities like crud. I can't get any of that. Now I'm kind of in a bind.
A good study, a good research would be to find out what products are made overseas or the percentage of it. Because I know everybody's talking about toilet paper. I know in Greenville, South Carolina, 2 major plants, huge plants, and they make toilet paper. Now, that's not enough for the United States, but so not all toilet paper is made overseas. Same with the N95 mask. I know there's one company in America. He has 7% of the market. He was asked on the Steve Bannon show, hey, if you wanted to double your production, how long would it take? And the guy said it'd take me a year to double his production. He provides only 7%. The rest come from China. Now, France makes masks, Germany, but they don't export any of them to America. They keep them all themselves. But Trump did, from my understanding, Trump signed an executive order last year to start bringing our pharmaceuticals back to America. But that's a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if it's a plan. It might be a study, but I think it may be a plan. I'm going to research more of that. But there's a TP factory.
Yeah, the problem is someone just put the comment, no name, but their TP factory uses parts and supplies from China. Yeah, their machines need a number whatever bolt from China. That's the problem.
Yeah, and so the guy that made the N95 mask, he goes, yeah, we can double our production, but our machines are made in China.
Yeah.
And you guys are just talking about making toilet paper, making masks, distribution. Yeah. Truckers who are sick.
Trucks who have required Chinese parts. Yes. All of those things that when you have key people in these supply lines that get sick, it's a problem.
Okay, we've been doing this for a little over an hour and a half. So guys, worst case scenario, we get through this and we're doing another podcast in what, 3 months, 6 months?
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, we all die and we meet Jesus.
Okay. Best case scenario, just Glenn. Just Glenn gets the virus. No,
yeah. I fully expect to. I fully expect to get this. I got over some nasty regular stuff with bronchitis. You might notice I've been coughing. It's been a month now, and I'm still coughing a little bit. So I'm going to get sick, and I'm not going to die. And we've got a plan for managing the disruptions, and it'll be a great learning experience for everybody, including preppers. This will be cool. It's like that bug out test, like turn the electricity off at your house for a weekend, those kinds of things.
Right.
It'll be a lot like this, but on a slow rollout, and we're all going to find flaws. We're also going to find out who our friends are. We're going to find out if people come to our house and say, hey, give me toilet paper right now. And so that'll be interesting. So we'll come out of this stronger. and that's a good thing. I'm concerned about the economic effects because that hurts everybody. So it's another event. It's another thing. I do not think coronavirus is the collapse. I don't.
And I'm
I
going to
could be
jump in,
wrong.
and I'm going to jump in here too. I don't think it's the collapse. I think a good thing out of it is kind of what we talked about earlier. Right now there are people that are quickly becoming preppers who were vehemently not a month ago. Let's think about the bell curve that happened with China. The rumblings of that started in December, and they had a huge. I mean, I remember the numbers doubling in a day, a huge peak of deaths and cases, and they've dropped. There's always that huge, and what we're having right now. If you look, China hasn't had any new cases, any substantial new cases, substantial deaths in about a week. Well,
So they
why?
say.
So they say, right? I give. But the rest of the world has, because it's now spreading out. So we're going to see kind of this global big wave. Someone brought up a good point. Secondary people who've had it and recovered and get it again,
Yeah.
they don't recover. It's not a good thing. Why? Because their lungs are already damaged. So we're going to see this big, and we're starting to see it. Remember what this was like. Again, look at what happened in China and kind of the timeline of. We're just at the beginnings of that here in the Seattle area, and it's only just beginning in the rest of the United States. So
I'm going to share something, and I think I've shared this with you guys before, but so when I started, it was Carolina Preppers Network, and we switched our name to during that time, I was kind of like, I don't want to go all religious on everyone, but I was kind of seeking the Lord, what he wanted me to do with this. And at that time I had no website. There was nothing. We were just using Meetup. And kind of the Lord said, get ready for 1,000 people in one day to join your website. And I'm like, what? I don't even have a website. So I talked to friends of mine. Some of them are on my expert panel now. And what does that mean? And they literally said, well, you've got to put together a website. I'm like, well, okay, I understand that. I got that. But you know what? PrepperNet has been growing. I'm sure your fan, Blake, people are turning just like the Forrest Gump thing. We're not crazy, but people are joining like crazy. And it was like, I felt the Lord telling me to do this, and I've done it. And they're coming. There's going to be days, I'm sure. I don't know what our biggest day is. I have no idea, but it's growing. I mean, I know it's at least a couple hundred people a day, if not even more. I've been so busy putting all this together, I haven't even looked. But it is growing, and it's going to happen. And I think this is good because, not that it's good, but we need to understand, and you guys are champions of this as well. It takes community. You can't do this alone. You've got to have a group of people that train, love, trust together. You've got to have that. And that's exactly what PrepperNet, the reason I started PrepperNet, so people can meet people, and they're like a farmers only, preppers only in their little community, so they can start meeting others and train and get and know them and get to trust them. And you guys are huge champions for that.
Yep.
Community is everything. You can't do it alone.
Nope.
Right.
You can't.
So any last words, Glenn?
You say that. How much time do you have?
Well, we can go as long as we want to, but it's been an hour and 43 minutes.
Getting
But
late on the East Coast.
What haven't I asked you that you're like, man, if he asked me that question, I'm going to knock it out of the park?
You've asked all the questions, and this has been on our mind. Again, we did the episode 70 with Dr. Bones. Nurse Amy, by the way, was fulfilling orders
right
while the show was going on, and she mentioned she was having a really hard time getting resupplied for the medical kit order she was sending out. So this is all on our mind, and I think you've covered everything. Thank you for the opportunity to add to it, but you got it. I think the people listening tonight got a really good start to finish look at, is this a big deal? What are some things to do? Don't freak out, but take it seriously. All these kinds of things. I think it's been a really good use of an hour and 44 minutes.
Hey, there is a question. I want to throw it up here. News sources.
Ah,
So where do you get your? I love Zero Hedge.
yes.
I do monitor Drudge Report, and I am a subscriber to Alerts USA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
We are too.
Yep.
And if you want a discount, I'm sure y'all have a discount from your page.
Yeah, if people go to prepping2-0.com and go on the friends and affiliates page and look for the Alerts USA logo, click on that. $25 off, so it's $75 a year instead of $100.
And I have the same thing on PrepperNet.
Yeah.
You know what? You do help both of. I mean, you can't buy it from both of us, but hey, you can help them, help me. Don't care. This
Whatever
is
works.
never about the money here.
And I will. And if
go
I
ahead.
can add this, the Alerts USA is great because it, especially if you're thinking about traveling, I'd actually encourage anyone considering doing any sort of traveling to think about it, because you're getting on a plane that has had not a great cleaning done on it. But it gives you alerts on travel bans, gives you alerts on what's happening in other countries, and it's pretty constant. I'm actually surprised that we haven't gotten that many today with some of the new cases, but I'm wondering if they've been really, really great with all of this. And I would say Zero Hedge. I also do Breitbart, and I do Fox News, National Fox News. They've done a really good job being very much more fair instead of blame the president kind of reporting.
And you know who else is putting out daily content now is Sam Kopler
Okay,
from
good.
Florida Observer.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
Yeah. Sam is the man.
And it rhymes. Kind of.
Well,
Yes.
okay, tell us how to get in touch with you, about your books again. Just remind everyone. And,
You bet.
And we'll tell us.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to tell you anything till Sam emails Glenn. No, I'm kidding.
You mean that?
I will-
That's Scott. That's
Well,
Scott.
wait. Oh, Scott, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Now he's not going to do it. Anyway, so you can find everything about us at prepping2-0.com. If you're interested in our books that we talked about at the very beginning of the show, there's links to those pages there. You can listen to all of our past shows, and you can also become a Patreon supporter. Several of you talked about that in the comments about how that's where the fun part of the show is where you can click on Patreon. You can link to our Facebook page. You can link. That's kind of the launching point for everything. Encourage you to folks just, kind of join us there. We really have a lot of fun doing our show. And again, this coming Wednesday, I'm really excited. This show with Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy was really great.
Oh, yeah.
So I will. It's so weird. I support you guys on your Patreon.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank
support
you.
me on my Patreon.
Yeah.
And it's like here,
It's good
I just want to
community.
see your content. That's why I joined. I want to see. And I've actually been on a radio show with you, Glenn, and it was so much fun. It was like over real radio. Like, it was awesome.
Oh, you should, talk about that, Glenn, a little bit. Yeah.
I have a radio show too, and it is available on Prepping2-0. It's Glenn Tate's KHNC radio show. Those are the call letters of the station in the Front Range of Colorado, goes into Denver, KHNC. But it's on Prepping2-0.com. It's an hour show every week. The KHNC radio station is the most amazing group of individuals. It's an absolute blast. And if you like this kind of stuff, you're going to like that show. So yeah, give it a try. It's free. What the heck?
Yes. So you guys know how to get in touch with them. We thank you guys so much for coming on.
What a blast. We had a
And
great time.
you revealed your face somewhat. It's amazing.
He's a handsome man, ladies. He's all mine. Step back.
That's right. We got the starfishes removed. Remember, if you see pictures, we have a starfish over our face. We pried it off, those little sucker tentacle things. Ooh,
Yes.
you don't want to mess with that. You
That's
don't want to mess with
awesome.
the starfish.
This is going to go down in prepper history. Prepper history right here. Well, thank you for what you do in the prepping community, and you're getting. And what I like about the prepping 2.0, it's like, okay, you're a prepper. Get on with it. Get past the basics. It's time to grow up a little bit.
Yep.
Is that the bad way of saying that?
No, now that you've got your beans and rice and AR-15, now grow your skills.
Yes.
Skills.
grow everything you've just done, grow it, make it bigger, better. Yeah.
Yes. And so, hey, but thank you guys for coming on. I do want to share tomorrow night, guys, is Dennis and Jeff. They're both authors. Dennis does, I know he does, what's that? What's that? Every year he does
Survival Ready.
it's something. We'll talk about it tomorrow night. But yes, that's tomorrow night at 9. And yes, I am getting really tired of doing that.
Yeah.
And it's fun as heck, and the feedback has been amazing. But thank you guys for coming on. Hey, everyone that's in the chat room or watches this video later on YouTube, subscribe to their channel, listen to their podcast, and help them out by paying the $20,000. I mean, I do $10,000 a month personally.
It's been nice. Been nice. Or $2 a month, whatever.
Whatever, yeah. $10,000 a month. And that Costco trip was awesome yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you. Jeez.
And
so much toilet paper.
And so what we've been doing is bringing you the experts in the United States, if not the world, when it comes to preparedness. And I really hope you guys are enjoying this. Thank you, Glenn and Shelby, one last time. Totally. And we will see y'all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Same time. I mean, same place on YouTube. Yep.
That channel.
Right here.
That time.
Thank guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Forrest.
How do I do this? Like this?